Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. So everybody had been wanting updates on LSU staff hires, and today we got them. LSU has made it official. They have hired an offensive coordinator and a passing game coordinator. So Ed Orgeron on Tuesday interviewed in tandem both Jake Peetz and DJ Mangas, and the duo has been hired. No terms yet disclosed on their deals, but Jake Peetz has been hired as offensive coordinator and DJ Mangas has been hired as passing game coordinator. So, of course, Mangas, who was at LSU a year ago, followed Joe Brady to the Carolina Panthers, now back at LSU in the role that Brady filled. And Peetz is replacing the now retired Steve Ensminger as offensive coordinator. He will call the plays for the Tigers in 2021. There are two certainties, two absolutes, only two, when it comes to coaching hires in college football. There are things that exponentially or disproportionately will likely succeed or fail, but there are only two absolutes, meaning you hire one of these two people, you will win and win big. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, that's it. You hire either one of those guys, you nailed it. Everyone else, there's a question mark to some degree. So the whole key in hiring is check boxes, find a natural fit, who's going to work well within your staff, who's going to achieve what you want. Certainly the more experience, the better at a value, etc. So, listen, there are things that looked really good, right? I mean, Rich Rodriguez at West Virginia had the Mountaineers competing for a national championship. At Michigan, he was a disaster. Lane Kiffin at USC was overwhelmed. At Ole Miss, he's a hero. Fit, circumstance, all that stuff sort of matters. Today, there's a lot of LSU fans that are doing backflips over this, and that's typically what happens when hires are made. When you go into the silly season, the coaching carousel, everybody wants to believe that the hires made are, you want to be gung-ho, that this is going to be the greatest thing ever, and it's going to work, and you're going to win championships, etc. I need you to be honest with me, and be honest with yourself. 72 hours ago, did you know the name Jake Peetz? That's what I thought. So I need you to spare me this is a slam dunk, this is a home run, all that rhetoric, because I don't need that in my life. Jake Peetz is 37 years old and has never been an offensive coordinator. His coaching career began at a community college in California where he was the strength and conditioning coordinator and the special teams coach. Also coached safeties. Santa Barbara City College. He was a defensive assistant at UCLA in 2007. An assistant quarterbacks coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2012. Went to Bama as an analyst in 2013. Redskins in 2014 as a quality control assistant. Was with the Raiders a year later in 2015 as an offensive assistant. And then 16 and 17 still in Oakland as quarterbacks coach. Then went to Alabama again in 2018 as an analyst. And then this past year joined, 2 years ago in 2019, joined the Panthers as the running backs coach. And this past year as the quarterbacks coach under Joe Brady and Matt Rule. This is the first time in his career that Jake Peetz is going to be an offensive coordinator. There is literally zero evidence to suggest that this is going to be a home run because he's never done it. Now, I want to be very clear because I know there's some of you rolling your eyes going, there goes Scone. It's never going to be good enough. I want to be very clear. Because what I'm trying to do here is to the super negative, I'm trying to pull you to the center. And to those that are like over the moon about this, pull you back to the center so we can analyze this. While there is zero evidence that Jake Peetz will be a good coordinator, there's also zero evidence that he would fail. I would argue it's the same conversation we could have had about Joe Brady 2 years ago at this time. Joe Brady was a glorified coffee and donuts runner for the Saints. That's what he was. Offensive quality control or something like that. I mean, he was cutting up film and doing all that sort of stuff. He was not an on-field coach. He was not doing any of those things. He got his opportunity with LSU, and they knocked it out the park. Could very well happen with Peetz and Mangas in tandem. Now, I would prefer a proven play caller, a proven recruiter, a proven offensive coordinator, someone who has sat in that chair in major college football and proven he can do the job. I'd prefer that. And if you want to put a guy in the chair next to him to give him a shot, a la Joe Brady next to Steve Ensminger, share some concepts, learn, like that worked. That worked to perfection in 2019. Now, there is a lot that I like about this. A lot. I love the idea of trying to return conceptually to what you did in 2019. Now, an enormous part of why it worked in 2019 was Joe Burrow. Let's not get that twisted. And unless if Brennan or Johnson or Finley elevates their game exponentially, it's not going to look like that. It'll never look like that again because that you'd literally have to be the greatest offense ever. But can you be productive in that same vein? Absolutely. So I do like that. I do like, in theory, returning to what you did that worked so well. The biggest question is why the hell you ever went away from it. Why you let DJ Mangas a year ago walk out the door instead of promoting him into that role that Joe Brady was in, or George Munoz. And moving away from what worked made no sense. I love young offensive minds. You've heard me, I've given you my native language theory so many times. Young offensive minds are going to be better in this offense because it's all they've ever known. It's like your native language. If you're born in a Latin American country and you grow up speaking Spanish, you're always going to speak it better than I can, no matter how much I study and learn it. That is the culture of these guys in their 30s that are play callers that grew up playing in the 7-on-7 culture, and it's all they know. I love that Jake Peetz has had 2 stints on the Alabama staff. He's been close to Saban. He's seen how that works. He knows the SEC. He's game planned against this division. I like it. I also like the fact that he's been in 4 different NFL stops: Jacksonville, Washington, Oakland, and Carolina. From sea to shining sea, he has seen the NFL. He's been in different NFL locker rooms around different staffs, culturally very different, and knows what it takes to get there and to succeed. I like that a lot. I like young coaches that are ambitious and on the rise, as opposed to what you had last year in Bo Pelini and Scott Linehan, who were dinosaurs sitting on 8-figure buyout money, who had no ambition to do anything but cruise toward retirement and let LSU fund it. I like this. Talked about it yesterday on the show. Give me a guy that even if he leaves after a year is going with his hair on fire to win now because he is ambitious and wants to grow. Give me that over the guy who's just coasting. So there's a lot that I like about this hire. But there are things I don't like. The lack of experience is a gigantic risk for Ed Orgeron. Let's be very clear about this. Ed Orgeron is coming off a 5-5 season. The afterglow of that national championship ain't going to last forever, especially when people are pinning on you that it was because you had Joe Burrow. And when you follow that up with the worst season LSU's had in 20 years, the worst season for a defending champion maybe ever, you don't have a ton of rope in a place like Baton Rouge where the expectation is beat Bama and win championships. You got to nail these hires. I mean, you just went hat in hand to your boss and said, I need to buy out $3 million coordinators. That ain't a good look. Like, you've got to nail it. This is a big risk. You're hiring 2 guys that have never done this job before. I don't like that. I would want to minimize risk. I would want the wow factor if possible. Like when Nick Saban hired Lane Kiffin, wow factor. Even when Sam Pittman hired Kendall Briles, wow factor. You don't get that with this. It's not to say it can't work. Don't misunderstand me. I just went through a litany of things I like about it. But there is a lot of risk that Ed Orgeron is assuming in these hires. And Ed Orgeron makes very comfortable hires. I think we have a big enough sample now to show that. I hesitate to use the term lazy, but they feel like lazy hires often. Hey, Derek, call Joe Brady and ask him who he'd hire. Hey, Joe, who would you recommend? Jake Peetz and DJ Mangas. All right, let's interview them. Guys, you want the job? Done. I mean, I would argue the best hire that Les Miles made in his decade plus in Baton Rouge was Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda had zero connection to Les Miles or LSU. Les Miles went and vetted coordinators across the country, found the guy that was the youngest, the brightest, and got him here. There is no process like that involving Ed Orgeron. He makes comfortable hires, and some have hit, and some have busted. Which one is this going to be? For his sake, it better be a hit. Because I don't think that this staff, this administration, this fan base is going to stomach another season like the one we just went through. It's not going to stomach another 5-5 or 6-6. So you got a bunch of guys back. Awesome start. You've got a consensus top 5 class. Awesome. You still got a handful of spots still to finish that class. You're filling your staff. You got 2 young, bright offensive guys. You're taking a shot on them. And now you get a chance to make your defensive coordinator hire as well. Hopefully that's Marcus Freeman. We'll see who it is. This feels very much like a boom or bust proposition for Ed Orgeron. I don't think there's much middle ground here. You're getting a lot of guys back on offense, and you're trusting some young guys that have never done this before. They either knock it out of the park or they fall flat on their face. And if they fall on their face, I think they take down the rest of the staff with them. If they knock it out the park, LSU's right back where we all expected them to be. You're going to have a ton of talent. You're going to have 3 veteran quarterbacks with experience in that room. You're going to have a buttload of talent at receiver and at least 3 running backs who've all played a lot of football for you, and you've got at least your interior offensive line returning. So you got a lot of toys in the chest to play with if you're Peetz and Mangas. It's on those guys to figure out how to make it all into a beautiful symphony come September. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.